Hello, learning designers. Good morning. How are we feeling? Fantastic. Saturday morning, guys. Look what's happening. We are not sitting up with our family, we are out learning. Fantastic. Hello, Philippe. Good morning. I don't know what time of the day is it for you. Good morning, Gautam. Good morning, Monica from Romania. Good morning, Vasudha. Okay, we've got another attendee without a name. Guys, fantastic. Just love your commitment. It's just driving me crazy. Saturday morning, and here we are all together for the Learning Design Summit. Fantastic. Good morning, Tushar. Welcome to the show. Guys, feel free to let me know from where you're logging in. Also, I would request, see, today's session is on gamification. It's one of my favorite subjects on planet Earth. And I want today's session to be really, really valuable for all those who are attending live with me right now. So let me know in the chat area what it is that you are looking to pick up from this session. And, we will modulate our content and have our discussions covering those topics as well. Good morning, Dr. Allen Baby. So, guys, feel free to say hi to me and let me know from where you're logging in. And if there is anything that you would like me to cover specifically, today's session is going to be a little hands-on. We're just not going to be sharing information. I would like, all the attendees to work with me, think of something around which they can create a game, and it will be by the end of the session. I hope each one of us will have, if some kind of game that we can go back to our organizations or our clients and put that into place, or at least pick up some ideas to build solid games. Good morning, Irene. Good morning, Sahibal. Thank you for your comment yesterday. I posted that, I shared that actually from my profile. Thank you so much for what you had written. And please share the love on LinkedIn and other social media. I think a lot of us who are a little skeptical, upfront, they wait for others to test it out and then they make a move, which is how, most of us are. So, spread the word, spread the word, let others know what you're gaining out of the Learning Design Summit. Fantastic. So, guys, you'll have to pardon my cold, just getting a little cold out here. Uh, but feel free to let me know what it is that you're looking to pick up from today's session, and we will modulate that, modulate our content accordingly. And that's fine. We can take a few minutes to settle down. Good morning, Madalena. Thank you. Good morning, Aditi. Good to see you back. Feel free to use the chat and let me know from where you're logging in and what specifically are you looking to pick up from today's session. Will help me immensely to keep the session relevant. Good morning, Vasudha Hopreti. Guys, let me know if you're facing any challenges logging into the room or staying logged in or anything like that. I'm seeing a lot of people are dropping out and coming back in. So let me know if you're facing any challenges. We'll see what we can do from here. Feel free to let me know in the chat area what you're looking to pick up from today's session. And if there are any questions or ideas or concepts or things that you would like me to specifically talk about, we will do that. Well, let me start off by posing a very simple question. How many of us in the room right now have used gamification in their learning design? So just let me know in the chat area if you have or if you have not. Guys, use the chat. Let me know you're around. Okay, guys, let's do one thing. As we are getting warmed up, I know it's a chilly day just about everywhere. Let me start off by playing a small video that will talk about gamification a bit, and it will talk about the kind of solutions that we can build with gamification. Um this is one of the videos that I use in my studio to let clients know what kind of gamification work we do. So if you see any, I will try to fast forward the part where there's a little bit of pitching, but do not mind it. Just look at it from the point of view of what all can happen with gamification. Guys, use the chat area. Let me know if you're facing any problems logging in or staying logged in or any other issues like that. As we get to that, please feel free to let me know from where you're logging in and what specifically are you looking to pick up from today's session. In the meantime, let's get started with the video.
Are you bored of delivering boring trainings that does not engage the participants in the learning process, that does not offer anything new or interesting, and that gets you bad feedback or words no one talks about, and you want to turn that around and make your trainings more interesting, more engaging, irrespective of how boring the content is, and deliver the buzz that you need to drive the culture in your teams? Then gamification could be the answer for you. Hi, my name is Aman Deep Dubey, and I want to share with you how gamification is really that magic wand that every training leader wished they had found earlier. Now, what is gamification? It is creating a game-like environment for your learning experience, which is just three things. First, create a thought-through structure of the game that provides a clear sense of what the game is, how it is structured, and what are the rules, and how does one go about winning it. Second, inclusion of game dynamics. A clear layout of the milestones the learning experience is divided into, it can drive a sense of progress for the learners. A thought-through, meaningful scoring system that can add to the sense of achievement while in the game. and some excitement by the means of an obstacle or a challenge that can take the player to the next level. And third, a sense of competition which can be initiated through a leaderboard that can deliver a rich experience of how I am doing vis-a-vis my peers. See, the game is all about competition, and that's where the energy in the game comes from. So how can we create a game-like environment for my trainings? So here is how it works. When you design your learning experience, you incorporate all these elements within the structure of the experience. Let me give you an example from some of our work. Our clients are constantly demanding from us to build such an enriching experience for their learners, especially for trainings which are high stake, like the new hire trainings. Over the years, we have perfected many gamification templates with multiple client installations. In one of our copyrighted templates, which we have built on the mountain expedition theme, the learner becomes an expeditioner in the mountain climbing challenge. Let me quickly run you through the experience in brief. The learner launches the module, understands that he is going to experience a game for this learning experience. He gets introduced to the structure of the game and various milestones he needs to achieve to progress forward. The learner then enters his name and chooses an avatar. He then takes his time to understand the rules of the game and his mission, and then enters the expedition, which is the game arena at level 0, which is the base camp where he gets the welcome message from the leader and starts the expedition from level 1. Each milestone within this level offers content and assessment to the learners. As he completes one milestone, he unlocks the way to the second milestone. The way he performs at these milestones determines the scores that he accumulates. As he completes various milestones this level has, he faces an obstacle that tests his knowledge and skill gained at that level. And the way he performs at each obstacle earns him a badge of recognition. Learners anytime can take stock of their progress from the status bar, where he will see his current score, badges and progress, and keep track of his performance till that moment. Successful completion unlocks the next level of the game. Now we have built this template to plug and play with existing content. As a part of the template, we help you create your welcome videos, company overview, interactive company timelines, interactive org chart, narrative elements, competency trainings, and all types of assessments. The structure of this template fits perfectly with the existing structure of your training content, with each mountain peak and its milestones are really chapters and sub-chapters of your training module, and obstacles is really the assessment of each chapter. Let me share a very interesting twist we designed inside the game mechanics. One of our clients during the new hire training wanted to establish their HR mascot as a familiar and a trustworthy face for all new hires to associate with, where they feel that they can reach out to HR for any help. As the learner completes the obstacle and is not able to get all the answers correctly, he meets with the HR mascot, who then shares the right answers with him and helps him get to the next level. As the learner completes his journey by climbing all the peaks, he completes the training. And finally, the learner sees how they have fared with respect to others on the leaderboard that drives the culture of healthy competition. Now that's just at the level of the module. More, if you're using our gamified elements, you can create gamification not just at the level of the module, but for all trainings in the organization, thus making the complete learning experience a game-like event. Remember that somebody said content is the king? With gamification, you can turn that wisdom around and rule with context, which is more in your control. Because we all know how you learn can make a big difference to what you learn. LearnTech today offers the most powerful gamification system that allows you to transform your trainings into an awesome learning experience that delivers better branding, better recall of your initiative, better engaged learners, and learning competition. One thing that our clients have come back to us saying is that this product creates the hallway buzz that is enough to know that the system is working its magic. I will share some practical insights into why gamification is clearly turning out to be the most effective strategy for solving the onboarding equation. Let's see what happens when a new hire joins. He's new in the company, he really doesn't know anything yet, and he's trying to absorb every piece of information. And just like the company measured him in the first 15 minutes of the interview, they are now measuring up the company, forming a lasting impression with each passing hour. The biggest challenge for companies today is to provide an onboarding experience on time, and which, by the way, is easier planned than done. Given the complexity of all the moving parts in the equation, like batch size, trainer availability, lodging, etc., the second biggest touch point is when they actually get the experience, and when they see a semi-structured, run-of-the-mill classroom-style, augmented PowerPoint-style e-learning, they know that there is nothing special. Everything is same as it was in the last company. There is no difference. And the company loses their critical opportunity to create an impression. Being boring in your trainings, which are critical to branding, performance and compliance, like new hire, can cost you silently with early attrition and disengaged workforce right at the start of their stint. We have to expand the envelope, and settling for just another orientation program, your new hires will feel that it is just another company. Now, this is what the new hire gamification system will deliver for you. Premium branding. You want to create a brand image that is premium? With high-end storyline, premium graphics and immersive experience, you will be able to establish that yours is a premium brand. On-time training. You don't want to wait them up for a few months or even days, but give them the experience right away. You serve it when it is the right moment for your learners. Leverage enthusiasm and feeling of belongingness. When you give them a game to play and have them compete with their batchmates, you channelize their enthusiasm towards learning about the company and their job, and provide an opportunity for bonding between the competing participants. In short, the gamification is the single elegant solution to a plethora of challenges that 90% of the training leaders today are losing their sleep over or thinking of complex ways to solve it. As you go gamified with LearnTech for your trainings, here is what you are assured of. Tried and tested product. The product has been fine-tuned and perfected over at least 1,000 nuancical iterations. You don't run the risk of procuring a new product that has not been tested. Complete customization. Because everything is developed in-house within the LearnTech studio, complete customization is possible. And if you have some ideas, we can also do custom template creation proprietary to you. We believe that one size does not fit all, especially in case of organization learning. We understand that every organization is unique in its context and its people and its culture. And this needs to be reflected in the strategy and design. Our clients find most value in the strategic partnership that they get with us. We have worked with clients where this gamified new hire experience was really the first digital program the company offered its learners, and we have dealt very closely with challenges of acceptance and change with the learner base. Our objective is not product delivery and to get out of there, but to enable you to succeed and be instrumental in every step of the way. Quick turnaround time. This gamification template is designed to plug and play with your existing content. It's easier to build, and in some cases, the organizations have gone live with this in less than a month. Free content maintenance. We understand that organization structure, sales figures, awards and achievement constantly undergo change, and that's the reason we maintain the content free of cost for a year. Any number of people change in the organization, any number of figures changing, we've got you covered. Hosting and reporting. If you do not have an LMS, we have you covered. All our products come with free reporting suite where you can view the progress, performance, leaderboards and all the other LMS features at no extra cost. Most importantly, you get the seal of LearnTech, which is the surety of impeccable service that our customers are raving about. Please don't take our word for it and take a minute to read about what our customers have to say about working with LearnTech. Our philosophy of project undertaking comes from the disposition of having seen organization learning from very close quarters. It comes from the experience of knowing the dynamics of what really happens day in and day out when you implement a
All right, guys. Now we are back. The room is warmed up. A lot of chat. My bad Saturday morning me. So the chat, public chat, somehow got disabled. It's back into an enabled mode. And thank you so much for communicating with me. Almost felt like I'm the only one in the room. Not a good feeling. Okay, so guys, let's get started. Today's session is going to be hands-on on gamification. What I want to do is, as I see, the number of participants is way less than we are used to having, and I completely understand because it's a Saturday morning. I mean, we should be in beds. So, guys, what I want to do is make this an absolutely personalized experience for each one of you who are logged in. Feel free to just go all out with your expectation of what you would like me to deliver on, what it is that you're looking to pick up from this session, and we'll pick up all of these things. And my promise to you is that you will be in a better place, after the session than right now. So feel free, let me know, and we'll just get started with that. So as I talk about it, okay. So please feel free to keep typing in the chat area about what you're looking to pick up. I will quickly jump on to the slides, and from there we'll start our session. So guys, this is gamification one-on-one on training professionals. One of the, like I earlier said, one of my favorite subjects on the planet Earth. I've spent a lot of time studying it, implementing it, and watching what happens after this is put in place. I'll be sharing my experiences with you as well. For people who have joined in new, and there are some new people in the room, my name is Aman Deep Dubey, and I work as a learning strategist with a learning design studio called Learn Tech. And as I just rush through some of the initial slides, this is me, guys, at the cost of repeating myself for people who've gone through this before. So I work as a chief learning strategist, and I'm most importantly why I think I am. You could really listen to me with little confidence is because of the point number 2, which is that I have written a book on gamification. It is called The Training Leader's Guide to Leveraging Gamification in Organizations Successfully. And it has become the best rated book in this category of gamification for training on the Amazon India Kindle store. So you're in safe hands, in short. This is how the book looks like. I wrote it almost about 2 years back or so. And, I did put it up on the Amazon India Kindle, on the Amazon Kindle store for a lot of time. And it's only after a lot of push from my clients and friends, I decided to put it up there, and got some massive feedback. Just loved everything that this book did for me. It's a great book, and this is available on Amazon. But what I'm going to do is, for everyone who's logged in, I'm going to put the book out in the handout section, so you really don't have to buy it. Just click it, and it'll get downloaded, and it's for you to then go through it, use it, skim through it, pick up the parts that you like, and just use gamification. So fantastic. So guys, please keep writing the questions, the things that you would like me to focus on, and we'll get started. So here is what the scope of today's session is. I'm going to talk about what is gamification. So we will clear off a lot of myths and a lot of half-baked information that we've received from a lot of places. We will talk about gamification in not just theoretical ways, but my idea is that we should be able to build a game together. And we'll try to give that an attempt as we figure out what gamification really is. So we'll try to understand it with the help of an example. We will understand what are the different types of gamification. Extremely important for training professionals, learning consultants, learning designers to know what type of gamification product are they really building. And then most importantly, if you if you are a person who's constantly given the ask that, hey, make something crazy, make something new and exciting and fun and engaging that people should remember for a long time. So if these are the kind of asks that you get often, then I'm going to tell you where all I have seen gamification deliver better results than going pure e-learning way. Sorry about that. So let's get started, guys. This is what we have. So let's get started. So what is gamification in training? So okay, so let's start off with this. Gamification in training is basically a simple technique to turn any experience into a game-like experience. This means make learning not only fun, but it also helps learners grasp complex knowledge and skills easily. Now, this is why training professionals love gamification, because it eases out the most important pain area for all of us, which is that we've got complex information, we've got boring information which we want our participants to remember. And how do we do that? And gamification gives us the tool set that we need to make that happen for us, and we will see how that can be done. So in short, as a learning professional, only thing you need to know to get started with gamification is that this is a technique that converts a non-game like experience into a game like learning experience, and it is going to help you immensely. And how it is going to make it fun, the whole learning experience, it is going to make the learners grasp complex knowledge easily, and they are going to recall it better. Now, one word of caution here is that what I'm going to share with you is my practitioner's view of gamification. I am not a professor. I haven't done a PhD on gamification, so I am by no means an academically validated stuff. I do what I do to solve my clients' problems, and that is my only focus. I don't get caught up with, is it a game based learning, or is it gamification, or is it serious games, or is it gamified learning, or is it game like learning, or is it a gameplay learning. So there are so many words out there, and I've seen so many of us getting caught up and getting into arguments with, though this is not game based learning, this is serious games, or this is not game based learning, this is just gamified learning. So I would say, cut the BS. We don't need to get caught up in what is what. All we need to stay focused on is that how can gamification help me achieve my goals. See, that's the view of that's the lens through which I look at every technique out there, and I will highly recommend that it is absolutely valuable to keep that discipline, and stay focused on how you can get results with any technique, be it gamification, be it non gamification. How can you use it to make it work for you? I think if you have a mindset like that, and you would appreciate a mindset like that, this session is going to be immensely helpful. By no means I'm going to be quoting research, although in the book there is some research and there are references to it. That's the boring part of things. You feel free to go through it in the handout once I put it up. And what you are going to see is how do we solve business problems using gamification. And let's not get caught up with so many words and what each of these words mean and things like that. We will go into that, but just up to enough depth where we are comfortable to really use it and not get caught up in the academics of things. So that said, and that out of the way, let's get started. So what is gamification? Let's take a minute here, guys. All of us in the learning design community have heard the word gamification. For sure, I'm 100% sure of that. So what does it really mean? Okay, and we got some basic ideas that it is creating a game-like experience for a non-game-like event. So I have defined it in the way that I felt comfortable and it is best needs to be understood. So I will just go with that. So for me, gamification is the process of using gaming elements in non-game conditions with the purpose of reinforcing positive learning behavior. So if you if you find value in this definition, I would say that just stick to this definition, because this has everything that a learning designer needs to have or understand about gamification. Now, there are, as we have defined this in this way, let's go into some of these elements and ask us what these elements mean. So, first is, okay, so there are three main aspects to this definition that we are going to take a closer look at, which is gaming elements. So, what are gaming elements? And that is the piece that we will, do together in an interactive exercise. The second piece is what are non-game conditions. So, non-game conditions are conditions which are not game like. A typical classroom training is a non-game like condition in which we put our participants and ourselves. So, by the intention of using the word non-game condition in this definition of gamification is only to suggest that anything which does not have the gaming elements, how can you include gaming elements in it and make it more fun? The another important piece, and I know it's going to be a repetition for most of us, but even at the cost of that, it's important that we bring it up straight at the surface of our memory so that we know what we are going to use gamification for. So why is gamification used? It is used to reinforce positive learning behavior. What is positive learning behavior? it is it refers to the behavior that helps meet the learning objectives of the experience. For example, a person who demonstrates good driving skill after taking a driving lesson from an instructor during gamification, it becomes the subject of point or badge accumulation. So, what we are saying is that if we have started our learning design process by clearly articulating and defining the learning outcomes of each piece of the content that we are going to serve, there are behaviors that we know are aligned in that direction. Every time we see that behavior, we predict that behavior, and we see it from the participants, we have to give it some kind of positive reinforcement. And there are tools or gaming elements available to us in the gamification toolkit, which, things like points and badges, which we are going to talk about. So the whole idea is we see a positive behavior, we have to reinforce it. That is the bottom line of why we use gamification. Sorry about that. So let's get started. Let's create a game together. So I'm not going to read out what these gaming elements are. We are pretty much are going to, let's say, co-create a game and see what those elements really are from, as we see this in the kind of games that we played. So this is, I think, the world's most popular game. Please raise your hand if you haven't seen this game. I don't expect you to raise your hands. This is Snakes and Ladders. So what we're going to do is create a next version of Snakes and Ladders, and let's call it anything. Let's just call it, Shakes and Chatters, the version 3 of this Snakes and Ladders game. So as we start building this game, and let's say the objective for us right now is to create a game based on an earlier game and make a more complex, advanced form of that game. So we picked up Snakes and Ladders, and we are calling it, Shakes and Chatters or something like that. So the first thing that we can do is we can build a story around it. So what could be the story? The story is, see, we know the game of Snakes and Ladders. We know how it works. You start from the block which says 1, and you throw a die and you keep moving forward, and you reach the 100th block, and then the game is over. However, if I put a story behind it to say that, hey, you are a warrior, you are out to save the world, and this is the place of the devil, and there are various threats and dangerous animals all around your path, and what you need to do is, save, maybe the drug that you are taking to save the world from all these threats, and you should successfully be able to, deliver that drug, going through these mazes of, as you navigate through this landscape. And in the end, once you reach point 100, there will be a doctor who will take that drug from you and convert it into some kind of vaccination, and then save the world. So you become instrumental in saving the world style theme. So what we're saying is the first thing that we can very easily do as we build a game is to put together a plot, a story, and a context. This is absolutely vital for us as learning designers to be able to create a story, so that we all know that people remember stories. So forget Snakes and Ladders, forget the training, people, after even after a few years of having done this story based game, will remember what they did and how exciting this was. So I would say never lose on to the opportunity of creating a fantastic plot, which, and we will talk about this at times. Clients come up to me, hello Ananda, welcome to the room. At times, clients come up to me and say that, hey, we want to do a gamification based training, which is ours, which reflects to our company's culture. It reflects the kind of language we speak in the company. It reflects the mission that we in the company already are on, and we want to create this game, which is like a learning experience, so that people, when they are playing that game, they are also connecting with the other metaphors and motifs that the company already has. And I see this as tremendous opportunity to create games which are aligned to company's culture. And you can build fantastic stories, and we look into some of these most used type themes that we use in stories. Typically a hero's journey, guys. We all know what that is. If you don't, I would say just Google hero's journey, and you will see a template of how a hero in just about any Hollywood movie has to go through different milestones to be able to come victorious in the end. So just take some inspiration around that, and if you're pitching a product to your client or your organization internally, create a story which emotionally people can connect with. That is a very good start to your pitch if you're presenting something on game based learning or gamification. Sorry about that. So the first thing we put in place, which is that we put a plot, we create a plot, we create a story, and we create a context. So basically three things mean the same. We can also slash it and say theme or anything like that. Don't get bothered about it. Idea is that you have to tell a story right in the beginning of what this game is all about. The second piece is that what are the rules? How are we going to play this game? So you're going to talk about, what, there are going to be snakes as you move along this landscape. There are going to be ladders that will be like small wormholes through which you can pretty much move into a different level, or move up in the landscape, or jump from one point to another. Then you're going to be using a dice to know how many blocks you can move now. So what we have done now is that after we have created a plot and a story and context, we are now creating the rules. And the rules are very simple. It just talks about the scope in which the game is going to get played. So as we talk about gamification and what that really is, and if you start building your game, just follow these points in the way you are creating this game. Your game will use it like a template to create your own game. And you will have a faster, quicker turnaround time of coming up with the whole game, and the optimized workflow of putting together a game. So we talked about plots, we talked about rules. Third thing that we want to do is we want to create a guide for winning the game. Okay, so we want to talk about the guide to winning the game. See, why is that important? When we open the stakes and ladders, there is no guide to winning the game. There are just rules. See, and this is an aspect of gamification that I have learned from experience, that uh, uh, if we are putting up a game in an organization for a learning perspective, we have to take the role of a guide on the side. So what we want to do is create a environment of comfort and safety, and by just including a guide to winning the game style instructions, we just make it so much more personal for people, where they can feel safe, and that there is somebody on their side to help them. So just for that feeling, it's a great idea. So what do we do in this part? We say that, hey, these are the best practices of winning the game. So it's almost like I'm giving you a cheat sheet before you even begin playing the game. Of course, the cheat sheet won't have the answers to the challenges you're going to face, but it will be more of a motivational way of saying that, hey guys, go ahead, look through that. You can also skip a turn. So here is a hack. You can skip a turn if you think and you can only skip turns only 3 times in the whole game. So whatever it is that you want to put together, that will help the participants connect with you and the game, and give them that safe environment, put it out there. It's extremely important from my view. So we've got first 3 things in place of what goes in as you start putting together a game. Guys, feel free to come in with questions. So I've got some questions. I'll take a pause and we'll answer those and move forward. Good morning, Anantha. Thank you so much for your question. So your question is, Amandeep, from yesterday's morning session, I'm quite evoked to think about some interesting possibilities of human-machine interaction and gamification for self-exploration. Fantastic. Look forward to getting to know the basics. I am at the bottom of the ladder. Anantha, it just is so humbling that you would say that. But much of what we are going to share today, it's really no rocket science, and it is not a new concept. We all have grown playing games as kids. All we are now doing is taking that knowledge of and experience of how we felt in a game and trying to scale that experience for our learners. That's exactly what we're doing. There is no rocket science here. There is nothing here which is difficult to understand. All we need to do is get immersed in the idea, feel excited about it, know a few tools along the way, and most importantly, just get started with it. Okay, so Anvesha, I hear you say, while creating the plot, shouldn't we keep the learning objectives in mind too? Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to keep learning objectives in mind. And I would love for you, and this is second level stuff, Anvesha, and I'm happy to, have that discussion with you. And if there are more people who are interested in how we, integrate the learning objectives in the plot of the story. But more importantly for me is that, the plot or the story is the first thing that the client or the stakeholder will hear from you as you go and pitch your idea of a game. So more aligned it is to the culture of the company, to the mission that the company currently is on, that much more brownie points you get upfront, and it helps in the rest of your pitch. And of course, the piece on how they are connected to learning objectives, that piece is going to be there. It's under the hood. It's what you know as a learning designer. Stakeholders don't need to know. So from a presentation perspective, stick to a company's mission and vision alignment and company's culture, and we will talk about how learning objectives play out a role here. Okay. I'm sorry if I missed the part where we discussed. No, we did not get into that part yet. So you're on board, and you're on the same page with everything. So guys, we're just starting out to build our shakes and shatters or scatters or chatters or whatever that style of game from an existing game, which is Snakes and Ladders, and we are just going into seeing how we are going to build that game from scratch. So we talked about 3 points: how to put together a plot, a story, a context, how to define the rules, and how to put together a guide for winning the game. So we are in the next part now. So let's say you have thought about these things now. The first thing you will need to put together is the structure of the game. So what is the meaning of game structure? Game structure is nothing but how you are going to navigate through the game. So if it's a block game, it's like a board game like this. The best, all board games have blocks. So you move from one block to another. So how would those blocks look like? How many blocks are there going to be? And are there going to be any special blocks? Then we call them milestones. If not, then that alone is a structure of the game. So to take an example, Snakes and Ladders does not have milestones. Okay, because you start from block 1 and there is no milestone along the way, and you go up to the block which says 100, and you're then done playing the game. But we want to make it more complex. This is the version 3 of Snakes and Ladders that we are building. So what are we going to do? We are going to add some milestones. What are some milestones? So we'll say, okay, this is the whole structure of the game. You start with block 1, go up to block 100. That's the complete game. But along that the whole journey, there are going to be some milestones. So milestones are interim pit stops in the structure of the game. So you can create as many milestones and as many levels. So what is the difference between a milestone and a level? It is absolutely in the way we define it. So we can say this is your structure, block 1 to 100, and there is a milestone on block number 23. There is a milestone on block number 72, and these are great milestones to let us know. And they could be, and you could put a whole story around it, that these are these two milestones are castles where you will get some extra powers, and for from a progress standpoint, it is that much easier to track that have you reached your first milestone, have you reached your second milestone, or have you crossed your second milestone. So just to create a more intricate structure of the game, we use milestones and levels. The difference between milestones and levels is that if your game looks like 100 block navigation, and within that you create some structures, they are called milestones. But if you're used to playing the games on the mobiles, then they work on levels. So how does that work? So let's say the snakes and ladders look like, where the snakes are slightly not so dangerous, the ladders are smaller, or ladders are bigger. Then after you're done playing with this level, you move on to another level where there are far more number of snakes, and these snakes are far more venomous, and the ladders are shorter, and there are more threats than snakes which are now going to be on your way. So what we're really trying to do is increase the complexity of the game structure in every level. So it is totally up to us on how we want to design a game. We can design milestones within one game structure, or we can create multiple such game structures with increasing complexity and call them levels. So that's another concept that we have to keep in mind, that how are we going to uh, plan our game. Is it important to have milestones and levels? I would say no. If your game is small, and it will not take more than 15 minutes for one to play a game, I would say there is no need for a milestone and level. But when would you want to use it? Well, you would want to use it if you're creating a longish learning journey, or if you're trying to deliver a lot of content through this game. And I'll share with you some examples. So one of the examples is that in the video that I was just playing at the beginning of the session, I was talking about a gamification theme, which is our best-selling theme, where you have used the mountaineering theme, and we've created multiple milestones, and then we created multiple milestones to depict different chapters which are there in our training program. So for example, if let's say the in this theme you have to climb to one mountain, and climbing the one mountain will cover the complete bit that I will share with you on about the company, its history, its business, its awards and achievements, and things like that. Then for every such category of content, I can create milestones. Okay, I can create another level if I'm using the same theme to do a different type of training. So earlier I did new hire orientation using that theme. Now I want to use the same theme, and now I want to do compliance training using the same theme. So what would I do? I will create levels. So after you're done your level 1, whereas simple company orientation, you move on to level 2, which is far more complex, and you're going to learn a whole new subject. So I hope I'm able to communicate that the difference between milestones and levels, what that is, and how we could decide to use what we want to go with. So it's just don't get caught up with the words, or whether I have to use it, when will I use it. As you build your game and you have a learning objective in mind and a project at hand that you're working with, everything will come naturally. That's my view of how we should go about it. So let's move forward. So after we've done our milestones, the next thing we want to do is create some reinforcements, or ways in which people can meaningfully take stock of how much they have progressed. So one way to do that is to include a system of points. So what are points? So we played these Android based or iOS based games on our mobile, where there are coins, and we can keep collecting coins and stuff like that. And sorry, we can keep collecting coins and stuff like that. uh, Guys, so sorry about that, just having a bad cold. So we can keep collecting coins, and what does that do for us as learners? Well, as learners, we just love the idea of accumulating something. And if accumulation of coins makes us feel happy, then that's the kind of motivation we want to engage in while creating our game and the learning structure for our game. So use points and think of them as coins in the game. Either that could be the strategy. So if you're using them as coins which are not linear in the way they are distributed, they are acting as bonuses. Or if you could also use points as a way to measure structure. So for example, in this image on the left hand side, this version of snakes and ladders, let's say every 10 blocks you get another 10 points. So it's a linear distribution of points, and typically it helps people see that, oh, they are progressing, they've moved up the ladder, they have made some progress. So just to create that sense of progress during gameplay for learners is why we need to use points. Is it important? It is absolutely critical. There is no game without points. So we love points, use points. Okay, another thing that we can use is the concept of badges. So what are badges? So badges is basically a way to call out some great performance. So let's say, how will I do that in the snakes and ladders game? So let's say I say that, as part of the rules, if you are able to reach your first milestone, which is that castle where you will, meet somebody who's going to help the drug, and all of that. So if you reach your first milestone in under 5 rolls of dice, then you get this performer or early bird style badge. And you can create as many of these as you want, and the whole idea is that people love recognition. And I will quote here one of my favorite quotes from Napoleon Bonaparte, who said that, I have found a remarkable thing, that men will die for ribbons. So that is the psychology that learners play out once they are in the game, they are in the competition, the heat is on and they want to win it. Once all of that is activated, we want to work with badges. They do magic. And I will go on to the extent of saying that initially when I was building my LMS, and we were gamifying our LMS, we had decided to just do away with badges on the home screen. That why do we need to show so many badges that somebody has attained? And we very quickly realized that badges are just magic, and people wanted to see, as soon as they would log into their gamified LMS, that how they are doing. They want to see all the badges that they have got. So it's a fantastic way of creating motivation. So use badges, guys. Badges, they just for us as learning designers, they are just images that we can download from Google or from wherever, which look like badges, like the one that you've seen. Create a rule behind it on how to win it, and just play with badges and give people these badges as they are able to achieve your set performance criteria. So feel free to keep asking me questions, guys, as we move on. All right. So the next thing we are going to talk about is competition. So what is a game without a competition? Well, the game is half dead without competition. You can obviously play solitaire, that's without competition, but you are competing with your own self in the second time that you would play it. So there is really no game without competition. And we have to be super conscious about how we are building the elements of competition if we want to make an engaging game out of it. So how do we do that? There are two ways. One is that we use the concept of a leaderboard. So what is a leaderboard? Leaderboard is a place where you see people who have attained either certain points or badges in the reverse order of achievement. So, we've seen all these guys from the Olympics team who stand up on, so to say, a leaderboard of sorts, where there is a place for first position, second position, third position. So that's just the same concept. So you put people with the highest performance scores on top, and people, that follow are the ones with incrementally low performance scores. So in a gamification application, we would create such a leaderboard where people can see where they are vis-a-vis everyone else who's either already played that game or who are currently in different states of the game. So it's a fantastic tool. If you ask me what one element in gamification has that magic, it is this leaderboard. Because the moment I see, or any learner sees, oh, this guy who's my peer is ahead of me, then there is a fire that gets ignited in my stomach. And rest aside, what I want to do is beat that peer that I know, and I want to see him below me, and I want to see myself doing better than him. So that's how we leverage motivation, competition to push in our learning objectives. Now, let's take the example of the snakes and ladder game. Snakes and ladder game is so simple and elegant. You really don't need a leaderboard. So just by the visual, just by the, if you're playing the game already and you are in middle of the game, you can literally see who's ahead of you, who is behind you. That's the whole idea of the leaderboard, where you can visually see who's ahead of you, who's behind you. So I put some pawns at different places just to show that leaderboard doesn't have to be this complicated. If you're creating a board game, you don't need another leaderboard to do that. You can visually see who's ahead of you, who's behind you. And if you're creating an online digital gamification kind of thing, then you might need a leaderboard, because getting all subjects with their scores in one place is a difficult task to achieve with the rapid authoring tools that we are used to. However, if you're using Unity or any of those programming or gaming tools, then it is still easier to use. But a lot of us, I know, are still not going there. We are happy with articulates and captivates. So you might need to figure out how you can create a leaderboard using your LMS. Another thing that I want to point out is, and I've had a lot of my learning designers, come and ask me this, is that how are you able to achieve leaderboard with articulate/captivate? My answer to them is that leaderboard is a subject of the LMS. So a module created in articulate or captivate is a standalone module. It is not multiplayer enabled. One would play a module and there would be scores from articulate/captivate that will go to the LMS, and then LMS needs to have the capability of creating this leaderboard. So as designers, we must be aware what is the scope and limitation with various tools, and where would I need to focus on if I want to create a certain gaming element. So competition is through leaderboard, where you are measuring one person to another. The second way is you can also create games where there is a competition with self. We've used that very, very effectively. I'll share with you how. So let's say you create a simulation, and in that simulation, one is playing out the role of a certain a person, and you played that once, you got a certain score. Now you're replaying it after a few days, and now you know that your last score was this, so now you have to better that score. So even that strategy of creating competition with oneself is a very, very effective strategy. And do not overlook it. If your game has that need, I would say go all out and build competition, whether with others or with your own self. And the next piece that I will talk about is avatars. So they are really, the aesthetic part of things, but for us as learning designers, but in the serious game community, avatars are very, very important. You literally have to pay coins and, shell out dollars to buy avatars and things like that. All that crazy stuff happens in the gaming world, but I will share with you what it means. So avatars is the pawn that you're choosing in a snakes and ladders game. So what you can choose your color. So on the screen you would see a red, green, blue, yellow, white, and black. So these are different avatars. So I could choose a green one. Somebody would say, oh, my favorite color is red, so let me choose the red. So what a learner has really done is we've created, so to say, a false choice of a false choice where he gets to choose what he likes and feel more connected with that avatar. So, you could be a red, I could be a green, and it's easier to identify in the game who's what by the color. And if you want to take that idea to the next level, and this is what a lot of professional games on the Android and iOS stores do, which is to create avatars which have different powers. So, you could choose a girl avatar who would be much better doing certain tasks, or you could choose a boy avatar who could be, not as good as the girl in doing those tasks that girl does best, but much better at doing maybe other kind of tasks. And similarly, you can have people with different powers and things like that, and it could actually become another variable for players to really think about, because if they have taken the time to understand the structure of the game and the complexity which is going to come their way, they can literally spend time in choosing who would be a better bet for their avatar. I mean, who has the relevant powers, who has the relevant skills, and you could use that to create your board game or your gamification of learning program, and just create it from the point of view where people feel connected. Oh, I think this will be better, so I'm going with that. So as you even start the game, before you roll your first die, or before you even start the start play on your game, you are already more connected with the game, because you've chosen something to represent you with, according to your liking. You've had that choice, you made that choice, so you're that much more geared up and engaged to play the game. So that's the role that avatar plays. So pretty much what we talked about is eight ideas that or elements that we use in game design, especially for learning purposes. So we'll move forward, and this is a more formal structure. This is going to be in your handbook, a little more detailed out, but I just want to call it out. So basically, what we've done is categorize the gaming elements into three different categories or three different themes. What are those themes? The first is, how do you create a game like structure? So what are the elements that help us do that? So there is one, milestones. There is second, rules of play. And there is third, guide to winning the game. So let me just elaborate all three of these. The milestones basically is that game structure requires milestones that players will need to complete to pass through and complete the game. So that's the definition of milestone. Rules of play basically means that every gamification experience will have certain rules that learners need to follow. This may even include choosing a character on an avatar or in persona to play the game. So this is all this forms the rules of play. And guide to winning the game. If there are rules to follow, there needs to be a helping guide for the learners as well. Why do we need one? So that the learners do not feel that they are in a unsecured location where there is nobody out there on their side. So just to create that sense of connect, we use the guide to winning the game. Then the second theme that we use is that of game dynamics. So we are creating three themes to understand gaming elements, and which will also help us remember, is to create a game like structure, so there are elements within that, and there are three elements under game dynamics theme, so which are creating points, scores, and badges. So all three of these, you could we've created games where we've had points, we've also had a score, and we've also had badges. So it depends upon the complexity you want to build into the game. If you have more players and a longer game, I would say you will need to use all three types of progress related or performance related kind of ideas, which can be depicted through points, scores, and badges. So it refers to the accumulation on part of the learner as a result of progressing or performing in the game. The next level of game dynamics, the next element in the game dynamics is called levels, which refers to different stages that one can reach during the game. So we talked about milestones and levels, so it's just referring to that here. And the third one is obstacles and challenges. So obstacles and challenges, basically, if we go back to the snakes and ladder example, there were obstacles, like the snake was an obstacle. Okay, the ladder was an opportunity. So as you create your own customized game for your learning purposes, you can think of what obstacles, challenges, bonuses, opportunities you want to create at various places in the game, and all of that will tie into your points, scores, and badges. And it just makes your game so much more dynamic, that every step that one is taking, there is something happening. And it's not just throwing a die, moving 4 steps, throwing a die again, and moving another 4 steps, and nothing is happening. Your game needs to be dynamic. People need to get engaged. There needs to be drama in it. There needs to be something that happens every minute, and you got to take care of it. So things like that are all covered in the element of obstacles and challenges under game dynamics. And the third one we talked in detail about was competition, and one could create rules for competition with others through a leaderboard, or with self, where you could literally use the score you attained last time, the timing that you attained last time, and your job now is to better that. So you can use ideas like that to create self competition. So guys, this in short are the gaming elements that we have access to. And while we build our own game, these are the elements we can pick and choose from. So here are some words of caution. Do we have to use all elements? The answer is no, you don't have to use all elements. I would say just pick up the ones that help you satisfy a specific thing that you want to achieve in the game. Well, should a good game have, or how many minimum elements should a game have? The answer to that is, you are the designer. These are only tools. So use the ones that, you deem fit. There are no hard and fast rules. And like I said earlier, this is not an academic presentation on what gaming means, and all that. So I would say that, as you are building your game, you are not focused. I mean, you are focused on the results you want to achieve for your client or for the project that you're building. Okay, and what are the things that you would like learners to feel or be able to do, or the kind of engagement you want to create. Just pick up the ones that you feel comfortable with, that fit in well with the structure of the game, and just go with that. And don't get caught up with, oh, how do I use this, I let me just force fit it here. So avoid that mentality. It's not going to help. It's going to only confuse things. And don't feel the pressure of that. Is my game based learning gamified enough? So don't get caught up even with that. Is what I am building, is that a game based learning, or is it a gamified learning, or is it a game like learning, or is it an activity based learning? What kind of a learning am I building? So my suggestion to you would be that, please don't get caught up in such academic words and things like that. Just build what is going to solve for you and stick to that, because there is really no end to causing debate on topics like these, which are basically futile at the end of it. So this is what the gaming elements are. So go ahead, build your game, and pick up now you know your arsenal. Now you know the tools you have. This is the toolkit. And I will just pick up what Anishwara said, that how can we uh, I'm sorry, is that Anishwar, that you said that how can we build something without getting an outside consultant if the budgets are really small and you still want to do a game? What should your strategy be? I would say you don't need an outside consultant. You know your clients or your projects or your stakeholders best. Okay, if you bring in an outside consultant, he's going to spend that much more time in understanding the business, understanding them. And second piece is that you know your learners better. So if you want to build a game, you know the kind of things that your people will like, and a consultant will need to make an extra effort to figure that out. So I would say you don't need an outside consultant at all to build a game that is really going to engage people in your organization. You don't. All you need to do is think fresh, think creative, come up with something that's going to excite people, align it to the organization mission vision, bring in those motifs that are, those cultural thingies that are floating in your organization, and build them all into the game. Make it fun, make it funny, and just go with that. And only thing that people like and remember are the things which are related to look and feel and experience. So look and feel, things like that, you can download from the internet. There are very cheap assets available, right from, if you know Envato Elements, one of the best sites to get absolutely cheap assets for any kind of a visual design that you are creating. So badges are not real badges, they're just images and pngs. So I would say just go all out. In fact, what we've done is that as part of uh, running with the whole idea of gamification, we've created many badges, which we are giving away free on our website. And I will share a link with you here where you could just go and download lots of badges that you can immediately use in your game design that you're building right now. So just remind me. I'll also remind somebody from my team to send me that link, and I'll just share it with you right away. So I would say you don't need an outside consultant. You don't need to spend too much. Budgets don't. You're not limited by your budgets. You're limited by your creativity. That's the way I look at it. Go ahead. You know your people better. Go ahead and create a game. Okay, so Advesha, you're saying great to know it can be developed in house. Just need to know how much technical know-how to equip ourselves with. Fantastic. So Advesha, this is the part that you might need a little help with if you're not thorough with how to use things like triggers and variables in storyline, and similar things in Captivate. So if you're somebody who's a starter in a tool like storyline, and you do not have a thorough knowledge of how to use variables and stuff like that, because as you put together the game, there is a lot of complexity in terms of interaction that you will need to build. I would say that if you have a storyboard that depicts it all, it is very easy to get somebody on an hourly basis to do that specific storyline work for you, where he can, somebody who's been hands on with that can understand what it is that you're wanting to achieve with all variables, what events you want popping up at what stages, and just align those variables in place, align those layers in place, and then you'll be ready to go. I would say that don't feel pulled back just because you don't know storyline that well. I would say that create your storyboard, because as learning designers, our job is to create storyboards of our ideas, and then we will always have people who will do the actual hands-on development. And if you have nobody in-house, or people who are not that skilled in-house, that is the time you could reach out to an agency or a very skilled storyline developer and say that, hey, I just have this, and how many hours will it take for you to build that? The look and feel and everything is already in place. We just want you to understand what needs to happen at what time. Can you do that for us? How much is going to charge? Today, if you go to Upwork, Fiverr, and all of those things, you can really engage a guy who's near perfect in storyline for as low as $30 to $40 an hour, and you also get guys for up to $20 an hour. So I would say don't get pulled back by that thought that how will I make this work for you. You can hire somebody to do those integrations or those parts. Your job is to create a fantastic storyboard and tell the story in the most captivating way. The rest, everything is outsourceable and doable. So this is the kind of work that we do in our studio. So I'm just putting a word out there. If there are any of you who are putting together that storyboard, and you would need that specific help to somebody to not do the end-to-end development, but somebody who could come in, understand the complexity you want to create, and just play with variables, triggers, layers, states, and things like that, and then make it work for you, we at my studio can offer that service. Fantastic. So, Anvesha, thank you about that. Guys, feel free to ask me questions. This is the foundation of how gamification journey really starts for a learning designer. We need to be absolutely thorough and clear before we can move forward. So, I'll just take a minute, and feel free to ask me anything, or if there is anything you would like me to go over. See, there are very few numbers of people in the room today. We have got all the time in the world to really spend time with all of you and pick up your specific challenges and really resolve those. So we can use that time judiciously today. So fantastic. Feel free to let me know how is it going till now. If you're liking it, not liking it, if it is too basic, too advanced, just let me know that, guys. Alrighty, guys. Saturday morning. It's already cold. Okay, so Anvesha, you're saying I was reading through the slide under guide to winning the game section. Yes, there is something it seems that's got cut out and not appearing here. Yes, it does seem incomplete. Could you please complete that for us? Well, as I spoke through it, I talked about what it is, but it's a typo, and I could fix that and do the uploaded version in the handout. So I will take that feedback and we'll fix that. Sure, we can. So this is Saturday morning me. That's what happens. Okay, the slide will help a lot. It's clear and structured. Having this in mind, can think clearly how we can apply. Absolutely, Monica. And the reason we took up that story of snakes and ladders is because I wanted to walk you through in a very iterative way of what it is that what are the various steps one takes in building a game. So that's the whole idea, and that's why we created this example of shakes and shutters. Fantastic. Alrighty, guys. So let's move forward. Okay, so now in the second part of this session, what we're going to do is talk about different types of gamification. Now, I'm not getting caught up in what I earlier said in the academic style of things. That is it game-based learning, is it an activity-based learning, or is it this and that? But there are two important aspects in terms of how you're building your experience that as a learning designer, we must know of. So I'm going to just limit this discussion to that. So what are we saying? We are saying that there are two types of gamification. What are these two types? So before I call the names out for what these two types are, let me just put it in the statement that you can either gamify your content or you can turn your content into a game. This is the question that you have to ask, that what do I want to do? So let me just elaborate on what I just said. If you want to gamify your content, that what you're saying really is that your content really stays the way it is. The 90% of that still is preserved. But what you're doing is you are creating a structure in which these gaming elements are now present. Okay, so I'll say that again. In structural gamification, that's the name that we will use for gamifying your content. In structural gamification, you are creating a structure that is game like. However, the content is not touched too much. Okay, so that's the way we understand structural gamification. The other part of gamification is what is known as the serious games or the content gamification. So, what is content gamification? Content gamification is when you turn your content into a game. So in the earlier version, what we did was we preserved the structure, we preserved the content, we created a structure where with milestones and all of that, and all of that structure that we created was agnostic of the content. So if you've created a structure with all that storyline, theme, and things like that, then you could use that structure for any type of content, and that is what it's meant by structural gamification. The second piece of gamification is content gamification, where the structure of game now that you will create will be dependent on the degrees of freedom that content will give you. Okay, so your content is completely overhauled, and it is from the content's intention that the game is created. Such type of games are not portable. So if you've created, if you've taken a content piece, converted into a game, would you be able to use that for another training? The answer is no. If you are using content gamification, then you are focused on that content piece, and that content will now play out as a game. But what you have done with that specific piece of content is not portable, so you can't use that anymore for any other type of training objective that you might have. While in the first option, that possibility is there. So we'll just look at these two in detail. So structural gamification is where you gamify your content. So what are we saying here? We are saying in the context of organization training, this form of gamification gives a game-like structure to the content. The content itself does not become the game, but the way it's presented is game-like. Okay. The native content structure does not change. So you preserve the content in the way it was. It mostly consists of a template-based approach, and you can plug and play with native content. Structural gamification is easy on the pocket and time, and is most cost effective, and it is the one that creates the buzz. So if I play for you, or if you remember the video that I had played right in the beginning, where there was a mountaineering theme and things like that, that was an example of structural gamification. So, the theme of the mountain, it's agnostic of the content. I can use it for new hire training. I can use it for compliance training. I can use it for technical training. I can use it for sales based training. I can use it for customer service training. So I can use it just wherever I want. Uh, However, the structure has in itself all the gaming elements. So I'm creating a game like experience for my content. That's structural gamification. Now, I'm also going to talk about when to choose structural gamification, when to use content gamification, and we'll see the merits and demerits of both of these. But let's go ahead and understand let's look at some of the examples of what structural gamification looks like. So here is on the left hand side, you will see an example that I shared in that video. And if you would like, then I could play that video again just to give you a sense all over again with that information already shared now. So gamified new hire training, this is our best selling product, guys. We've done so many installations, it's not even funny. And we've, for over so many years now, the theme is not dying out, the flavor is still fresh. Clients see it, prospects see it, and they want it for their organization. That's the beauty of structural gamification, that if you put in your hard work in creating the story and the game elements and creating a structure, that structure, and it's a one time effort, it lives for eternity, if you like. And you can just about put any content into that, plug and play into your existing structure, and have a complete game like experience for every training that you create. So from where I am, and the kind of problems I solve for my clients, where cost is an issue, budget every time is an issue, development time is an issue, what do? You put in your effort, create a structure once, and then leverage some flavors of that in as many trainings as you want. And we've done that successfully with many organizations, and people never seem to get tired of it. Okay, so here is another example, and on the right hand side, you will see that there is a lot of buzz in the market where people are playing games. So there is a football game that's happening, which is in a flash-like animation. There is a golf game that one could play. So what's really happening is that we've taken the theme of golf or football or cricket or anything like that, and for example, let's take the example of football. So there is a ball, and it's at the it's a penalty shootout that's going on right now, and there is a one player ready to kick the ball, and a question appears with some options. And if you select the right option, what's going to happen is it's going to play out an animation where the person kicks the ball, the goalie is not able to protect the goal, and the ball goes into the goal, and there you go, you've got one goal, 1 point. And that's a way of showing that it's a positive reinforcement, positive feedback, and the answer that you selected was right. So typically gamified assessments are all over the place, and people just love it. It creates that slightly more fun, engaging way of presenting your content. And there is a lot of these out there, and they cause no hurt, they only build up. I mean, it's better than doing something that looks like a quiz. It's better to do something which looks slightly gamified. So from that perspective, it fits the bill, and it's a very good investment for learning designers to create some templates like these. If there is an ask from the client, hey, or from the stakeholders, hey, can you build something quickly? Then you say, hey, we've got these structures already in place, and just give me the questions and answers if you're building a gamified assessment, and you're ready within a day to have it deployed. So that's the kind of speed you can achieve with if you put in your time to create your own templates. You can also buy these templates from a lot of these companies who sell it out there. But my suggestion would be that not every time the same structure will work. You might need to make some changes here and there, and you should know the know-how to make those changes, or at least have somebody on your team or an outside help who's going to create small little variation into an already created structure, so that it looks and feels slightly different every time. So that's about structural gamification, guys. Monica, you're saying this slide will help a lot. It's clear and structured. Having this in mind can help clearly how we can apply. Fantastic, Monica. Really, helps me. Fantastic, guys. So, any question on structural gamification? I'm moving on to content gamification, which is the second part of how we do gamification. So let's get into that. Content gamification is basically, as I spoke about it, it's turning your content into a game. So all that you hear around simulations, serious games, that's basically content gamification. So we do a lot of simulation work. So what are subjects for content gamification? So, if you're creating a leadership simulation on a specific topic, let's say how do you give feedback, and we want to create a simulation for it, the simulation by itself will act like a game. However, there is content which is driving that structure of the game, and it is only that content which is going to get played out. So, you can still have all the elements of structural gamifications like points, badges, rules, and things like that. But everything will be governed by the degrees of freedom that that content will offer to you. So it is slightly more difficult to put together a content gamification piece. You need trained, learning consultants who can do this for you if you're really looking to invest in this as an organization. Let me just read out what I have here. Content gamification is often understood as serious game template where the content is turned into a game. Content gamification is one-time structure created for a specific content. It's not leverageable outside of that specific content, guys. So that's the thing we have to remember. Once developed, it can only be used for that specific learning objective. This type of gamification experience is extensive and takes long to develop with an intense association with the SMEs. Guys, we've done a lot of work like this, and frankly, a lot of people, a lot of clients who come in and speak to us, they say that we want to do content gamification. And once I understand that they do not have either the budgets or those timelines required to put together a content gamification, I have to tell them that content gamification is no easy task. It requires high level of skills of learning designers. You need a dedicated SME team to really support this development. Sorry about that. And it is not cheap, because there are going to be people of very high skills who are going to be working on the project, and it's going to take a long time, and you'll have to pay for those costs. So what we are trying to really say is that you only do content gamification when the stakes are sky high for you. So some examples are, you are doing sales training. In the sales training, this is the bread and butter for your company really wants to do a good job of preparing their sales guys. They're ready to invest to what it takes to give them that experience. Go in for content gamification. We did some content gamification for one of the big fours, where we did a business simulation of how to run your practice arm or your service practice more effectively. Now, why is that an important training for that company? Yes, it is, I believe, the most important training for that company, because it talks about profitability. It is directly aligned to the money that they make. So, they're ready to invest. They're ready to put in the time. They're ready to invest the money it takes. And they want to just make it, as effective as today's technology and design can make it. So when you have asks like that, only then content gamification needs to be attempted. Okay, so what we are saying, beyond what we've just covered, is that in a serious game, the content delivery is contextual to the application of the content. For example, a board game of business, which we played as kids, has had the players learn the basics of real estate and business with real estate. So the content gamification piece is something that is at the expert level that needs to be attempted. That said, nobody is stopping us from attempting it in our small little ways, and I will highly encourage all learning designers who are tuned in to give it a shot. And how do you identify where should I use content gamification, where should I use structural gamification? We'll talk about that. So people who attended my last evening's session, the example on the left is what I shared with you guys, where we talked about content gamification that we did for a client to solve a critical problem. And like I said, when the stakes are high and budget's no issue, and you want things done, you go in for content gamification. What did we do here? And for people who did not attend yesterday's last evening session, I'm just reiterating what did we do in this specific game. Well, we had a problem with the customer, and the customer wanted their customers to feel excited about putting the instrument they have just bought from this customers of ours, to put them together. And we created a game where the customer would assemble this mechanical instrument that you see on the left hand side all by themselves by using simple drag and drop. So this game cannot be leveraged for if you want to do compliance training. This template cannot be leveraged because it's built for that specific content. It gives you a complete immersive experience, but only for that content. So yeah, that's an example. I have another example of emotion intelligence. That's a game that we have built. It's free to play for anyone. Sorry about that. It's free to play for anyone, and if you are going to be attending my session on simulations, then I will be playing this out for everyone to see how that game is built. So basically what we are saying is you've got a subject, you want to develop mastery on that subject, do content gamification. Only if it's high stake and for you, go do content gamification. So here is a quick reckoner of what should learning designers / leaders do. How should they answer that question? Which type of gamification does this content warrant? So here are some dimensions to think about. The first is, if you look at this table, on the left hand side is approach. The second column is gamification, which is structural gamification. And the second is the serious games or the content gamification. So for the dimension that we will speak about in the approach area, we will see what content gamification offers and what structural gamification offers. Sorry about that. So in the approach, we have content rework. So how much of content reworking will be required if I go for structural gamification? So the answer is only instruction design required for making content more learning friendly. So frankly, if your content already is in good shape, you want to gamify it, structural gamification is the best way to move forward, because really you don't have to spend that much more time on the content. However, if you're going for content gamification, then the content that you have will not be in the shape at all. It will need to be overhauled. So that's a point of consideration. Second is reusability. So we talked about it. Gamification templates, if created once, they can be used for different types of trainings. They are agnostic of the content. The second, the content gamification piece says that once developed, it can only be used for that specific learning objective. Third most important is cost of development. Cost of development for structural gamification is very, very low. Cost of development for content gamification is high. And if that's a consideration, that this is an important dimension. Time for development for structural gamification, because the cost is low, the time is also low. You can really, so I'll give you my example. How long does it take? We've had clients come in and say that, Aman, how quickly can we get our new hire orientation in place? And with clients like these, we have gone live in less than a month. And I'm talking the complete end-to-end design development of their content, right from company information, business information, with different departments. So the complete hog of things that we talk about in new hire, we are able to go live with that and within a month. So that's the kind of turnaround time which is very, very friendly for us. For content gamification, these type of projects are longer projects. Minimum 3 months is what I know from my experience it takes for our team to put together just the flow chart of what's going to happen, and if this happens, then what happens, and things like that. Validation with that, working with stakeholders, it takes a long time. It has its own dividends, but it does take its long time. So when is structural gamification used? It is used to drive engagement for mandatory compliance new hire training. Fairly non-complex subjects can be very well treated through structural gamification. And serious games or content gamification is best used when the skills that you're teaching people are new, they are complex, and they are high stake for you. So, quick reckoner to help you decide which type of gamification you really need to have, or you should choose for your project. So this second will help you decide that. Okay, so this is I think the last piece that I want to cover. Yes, it's the last piece. Guys, feel free to ask me any questions, but Now, what I will do is spend 5 minutes on just helping all the learning designers in the community and motivate them to really leverage gamification. Why? See, either we are building e-learning, we can, with the same tool set, with the same articulates, with the same set of resources, we can build a gamified e-learning. So what are the advantages of a gamified e-learning slash structural gamification style e-learning over vanilla style e-learning? There are multiple and many, and we'll just talk about those. Vanilla e-learning does not give you an opportunity to meaningfully create a story and keep and create immersion in that story. That doesn't happen with vanilla e-learning. With structural gamification, you've got, you can create a story. So from a recall perspective, building stories is important. And creating a gamified way of e-learning is far better and has better returns when it comes to how much of that people were able to recall. So the first definite advantage is you have higher recall. You can associate emotionally. You can connect to company's culture, brand, company's brand, and things like that. You can do so many things. It's just crazy with the structural gamification. So it's so much better than doing pure vanilla style e-learning. Guys, you also get a much better engagement because see, we are playing with scores here, points here, badges here, and at the end of the day, just remembering that quote from Napoleon, men will die for ribbons. So just remember that, guys. It's so crazy, it's funny. Grown-ups, mid-management, senior management people, when they come and fight for one point that they should have got and they haven't got, it's so crazy, and it works like magic. So if you're designing e-learning, if you're designing any kind of learning intervention, you cannot design it without the sense of points, badges, and scores and things like that, because just people just want to get better, with these dimensions with each other. So go ahead and leverage it, and gamification gives you that tool set to do that. uh, so also with your designing your gamification style e-learning is far better. Why? Because it moves away from the culture of completion. So have you completed that e-learning? So you no more need to have conversation around that. You've got now leaderboards, and you are now focused on achievement. So okay, I'm sure you've completed your gamified program that we sent you. What was your score? So the whole discussion and focus moves away from completion to achievement. So that for me is a big step in the company's culture. If you're building a learning culture in your company, and it goes a long way, and yeah, people are constantly competing with each other. There is healthy competition. You can always publish these leaderboards. I get all my clients, force them literally to publish the leaderboards on newsletters and on their display boards and things like that. The magic it has is just crazy, guys. You once you implement your first gamification program, and just wait for the client to come back to you after a month. It has already been implemented. It will, the feedback you get from clients, it just really fills you up and makes you feel like that you did something out of the world, which actually you did not. It's very simple to do, but the impact is far better. Then you're all if you use gamification, you're playing with people's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which we talked about. You're making them focus on achievement, and you're giving them a place to compete for learning purposes, which is what we want to achieve as learning designers. So guys, with that, I'm done. Feel free to ask me any questions, or if there is any piece that you would like me to go over once more or elaborate on any piece, feel free to call that out, and it'll be my pleasure to share my insights with that. I'm no authority on this. I've just done a lot of work with this, so I'll be able to share with you what I have seen and my map of the world. I'll be able to share that. And of course, my map of the world is not everyone's map of the world, but I can definitely give you some insights of having done that, failed at it, learned from it. So I can give you those insights. So, guys, fantastic. Feel free to drop me any questions. And it's not just for today, for people who are tuning in. Let me just quickly put that book also in the handout area so that you can download it right away. Here we are. All right, guys. So I've just uploaded today's presentation in the handout area and also the book that I just spoke to you about. So you don't have to buy it anymore. It's right there in your handout area. Just download a copy. We've talked about so many aspects of gamification, and we've tried to also find evidence in the research already done in psychology and in learning technology to what gamification offers. So it's a very good read, and I would say a must read if you're in the learning design domain and if you are a learning a training leader and things like that. Fantastic, guys. And with that, okay, so Philippe, there is a question from you. Is it relevant the type of game development tools for structural and content gamification? So what I understand you want to ask is what type of tools are used for structural gamification for the building purposes, and what type of tools for content gamification. So if that is the question, Philippe, and you could let me know if I've got it wrong. If that is the question, the way I'll answer this is that articulate storyline is a very, very powerful tool. Within that, you can create both these types of things. For structural gamification, definitely articulate storyline is my favorite tool on the planet. So, it will help you build. If you can think it, you can pretty much build it. That's the kind of flexibility that tool has. And let me tell you this, even the content gamification piece, we have attempted so many of those in articulate storyline, and it just works fine. At times, when you need a little more feature set that articulate is not able to offer, then you move towards development platforms like Unity, which are pure game development platforms, but the degrees of freedom allowed to you to create what you want is so much more. So if it's a complex game, a pure content gamification application, Unity is my tool of choice. But that said, for quick prototyping, doing quick demos, giving a sense of how it's going to look and feel like, Articulate Storyline 3 is my go-to tool. Okay, so Philippe, I hope I answered that. And most welcome, Monica, for for the book. Feel free to let me know how you liked it, and let me also do this. And it would be glad. I would really be thankful if so. Guys, I'm going to be sharing the URL of this book with you, where about a year and a half back, I had I had promoted this book with a lot of people in the learning design domain, and especially people who are HR and training managers. So there is some massive praise that I got from this book that actually built a lot of my confidence to take this message out to a wider audience. Uh, and here is the link to that. If you ever miss this book, I mean, if it gets corrupted or you want to send somebody a link and things like that, this is the link that you could use. You would see as you go onto that link that there is a lot of feedback that I got on that book, which is mentioned there, and that that book is in complete detail in terms of what it contains, and it's from this link. It's free to download. It's not a SEO link, but I still share it with the people I want to share it with. So feel free to just spread that around, have more people engaged in using gamification, leveraging gamification. So guys, that said, if there are any of you who are now excited to build your own gamification experience and you would like me to have a look at it, give you some more advice on how to take it to next level or what you can do to polish some rough edges and things like that, I am available. I will be happy to do that. All you need to do is go on to the link where you can sign up for a coaching session and you can choose me as the speaker and talk about the gamification thing that you're trying to do. And I would like that if you already have something done, I would love to have a look at that. And it could be a group coaching session, but I can really give you my advice on how, if you were to build your own gamification, is that looking right? What is missing in it? So, things like that, I can be your sounding board. So with that, what I'll do is I would want you to have a look at, if we are already 1 hour. Sorry, it's already 1:15 here in India. I don't want to hold you guys any longer, but I'm just going to play that video once again, which we did at the beginning of the session, so that you get a feel of how we present this and how much fun it is, just to talk about it. So I'm going to sign out and just play that video so that you can enjoy how they look.
Are you bored of trainings that does not engage the participants in the learning process, that does not offer anything new or interesting, and that gets you bad feedback, or worse, no one talks about it, and you want to turn that around and make your trainings more interesting, more engaging, irrespective of how boring the content is, and deliver the buzz that you need to drive the culture in your teams? Then gamification could be the answer for you. Hi, my name is Aman Deep Dubey, and I want to share with you how gamification is really that magic wand that every training leader wished they had found earlier. Now, what is gamification? It is creating a game-like environment for your learning experience, which is just three things. First, create a thought-through structure of the game that provides a clear sense of what the game is, how it is structured, and what are the rules, and how does one go about winning. Second, inclusion of game dynamics. A clear layout of the milestones the learning experience is divided into, which can drive a sense of progress for the learners. A thought-through, meaningful scoring system that can add to the sense of achievement while in the game. And some excitement by the means of an obstacle or a challenge that can take the player to the next level. And third, a sense of competition which can be initiated through a leaderboard that can deliver a rich experience of how I am doing vis-a-vis my peers. See, the game is all about competition, and that's where the energy in the game comes from. So how can we create a game-like environment for my trainings? So here is how it works. When you design your learning experience, you incorporate all these elements within the structure of the experience. Let me give you an example from some of our work. Our clients are constantly demanding from us to build such an enriching experience for their learners, especially for trainings which are high stake, like the new hire trainings. Over the years, we have perfected many gamification templates with multiple client installations. And one of our copyrighted template, which we have built on the mountain expedition theme, the learner becomes an expeditioner in the mountain climbing challenge. Let me quickly run you through the experience in brief. The learner launches the module, understands that he is going to experience a game for this learning experience. He gets introduced to the structure of the game and various milestones he needs to achieve to progress forward. The learner then enters his name and chooses an avatar. He then takes his time to understand the rules of the game and his mission, and then enters the expedition, which is the game arena at level 0, which is the base camp where he gets the welcome message from the leader and starts the expedition from level 1. Each milestone within this level offers content and assessment to the learners. As he completes one milestone, he unlocks the way to the second milestone. The way he performs at these milestones determines the score that he accumulates. As he completes various milestones this level has, he faces an obstacle that tests his knowledge and skill gained at that level. And the way he performs at each obstacle earns him a badge of recognition. Learners anytime can take stock of their progress from the status bar, where he will see his current score, badges and progress and keep track of his performance till that moment. Successful completion unlocks the next level of the game. Now we have built this template to plug and play with existing content. As a part of the template, we help you create your welcome videos, company overview, interactive company timelines, interactive org chart, narrative elements, competency trainings, and all types of assessments. The structure of this template fits perfectly with the existing structure of your training content, with each mountain peak and its milestones are really chapters and sub-chapters of your training module, and obstacles is really the assessment of each chapter. Let me share a very interesting twist we designed inside the game mechanics. One of our clients during the new hire training wanted to establish their HR mascot as a familiar and a trustworthy face for all new hires to associate with, where they feel that they can reach out to HR for any help. As the learner completes the obstacle and is not able to get all the answers correctly, he meets with the HR mascot, who then shares the right answers with him and helps him get to the next level. As the learner completes his journey by climbing all the peaks, he completes the training. And finally, the learner sees how they have fared with respect to others on the leaderboard that drives the culture of healthy competition. Now that's just at the level of the module. More, if you're using our gamified LMS, you can create gamification not just at the level of the module, but for all trainings in the organization, thus making the complete learning experience a game-like event. Remember that somebody said content is the king? With gamification, you can turn that wisdom around and rule with context, which is more in your control. Because we all know how you learn can make a big difference to what you learn. LearnTech today offers the most powerful gamification system that allows you to transform your trainings into an awesome learning experience that delivers better branding, better recall of your initiative, better engaged learners, and learning competition. One thing that our clients have come back to us saying is that this product creates the hallway buzz that is enough to know that the system is working its magic. I will share some practical insights into why gamification is clearly turning out to be the most effective strategy for solving the onboarding equation. Let's see what happens when a new hire joins. He's new in the company, he really doesn't know anything yet, and he's trying to absorb every piece of information. And just like the company measured him in the first 15 minutes of the interview, they are now measuring up the company, forming a lasting impression with each passing hour. The biggest challenge for companies today is to provide an onboarding experience on time, and which, by the way, is easier planned than done, given the complexity of all the moving parts in the equation, like batch size, trainer availability, lodging, etc. The second biggest touch point is when they actually get the experience, and when they see a semi-structured, run-of-the-mill classroom style, augmented PowerPoint style e-learning, they know that there is nothing special. Everything is same as it was in the last company. There is no difference. And the company loses their critical opportunity to create an impression. Being boring in your trainings, which are critical to branding, performance and compliance, like new hire, can cost you silently with early attrition and disengaged workforce right at the start of their stint. We have to expand the envelope, and settling for just another orientation program, your new hires will feel that it is just another company. Now, this is what the new hire gamification system will deliver for you. Premium branding. You want to create a brand image that is premium? With high-end storyline, premium graphics and immersive experience, you will be able to establish that yours is a premium brand. On-time training. You don't want to wait them up for a few months or even days, but give them the experience right away. You serve it when it is the right moment for your learners. Leverage enthusiasm and feeling of belongingness. When you give them a game to play and have them compete with their batchmates, you channelize their enthusiasm towards learning about the company and their job, and provide an opportunity for bonding between the competing participants. In short, the gamification is the single elegant solution to plethora of challenges that 90% of the training leaders today are losing their sleep over or thinking of complex ways to solve it. As you go gamified with LearnTech for your trainings, here is what you are assured of. Tried and tested product. The product has been fine-tuned and perfected over at least 1,000 nuancical iterations. You don't run the risk of procuring a new product that has not been tested. Complete customization, because everything is developed in-house within the LearnTech studio. Complete customization is possible. And if you have some ideas, we can also do custom template creation proprietary to you. We believe that one size does not fit all, especially in case of organization learning. We understand that every organization is unique in its context and its people and its culture. And this needs to be reflected in the strategy and design. Our clients find most value in the strategic partnership that they get with us. We have worked with clients where this gamified new hire experience was really the first digital program the company offered its learners, and we have dealt very closely with challenges of acceptance and change with the learner base. Our objective is not product delivery and to get out of there, but to enable you to succeed and be instrumental in every step of the way. Quick turnaround time. This gamification template is designed to plug and play with your existing content. It's easier to build, and in some cases, the organizations have gone live with this in less than a month. Free content maintenance. We understand that organization structure, sales figures, awards and achievement constantly undergo change, and that's the reason we maintain the content free of cost for a year. Any number of people change in the organization, any number of figures changing, we've got you covered. Hosting and reporting. If you do not have an LMS, we have you covered. All our products come with free reporting suite where you can view the progress, performance, leaderboards and all the other LMS features at no extra cost. Most importantly, you get the seal of LearnTech, which is the surety of impeccable service that our customers are raving about. Please don't take our word for it and take a minute to read about what our customers have to say about working with LearnTech. Our philosophy of project undertaking comes from the disposition of having seen organization learning from very close quarters. It comes from the experience of knowing the dynamics of what really happens day in and day out when you implement a learning initiative. It comes from someone who has been in the role as an in-house training resource, and this insight helps us quickly get sensitized to your world and your challenges. Though it's difficult to quantify, but this slight difference is the reason for the passion and ideas that we bring to each of our projects, and our clients see tremendous value in it. And to share a little bit of my story with you, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this is because I had led the new hire training myself for the organization that I worked for, and I led that for over many years. And right from arranging logistics to arranging the room, to getting participants, to running up and down to get the speakers before time, working late to ensure their decks looked all right, and sitting up for marking attendance. I have done this back-breaking work, and even at the time I knew that no matter how much I feel I'm changing the world, but in the bigger picture I'm just running an errand. And I used to think there has to be a better way of doing this more effectively. And now, years later, when I have found the concept and developed it into a system, I really want to go back in time and gift myself this. Well, that may not be possible, but this system can salvage a lot of professionals' time and energy to do something more valuable for their customers. The detailed analytics that the system can generate for you about learner performance, there is no stopping to what you can make of it and how you plan to use it to derive the further course of their learning plan. We are committed to help our clients look good in their organization, and that is a longer way ahead from product delivery. Now imagine this for a moment. Within a month, when you are walking up to your office and you are in the hallway and you hear people talking about the scores from the learning game that they recently played, and that gives you the greatest feeling of knowing that you have created a system for your people that has taken a life of its own. and it's no more your responsibility to promote it and administer it. You have solved and automated one of the big ticket trading challenges on your plate. So you now have more time to talk to your customers and produce something that will help them bring positive change in their business. Free yourself from doing repetitive work and leverage the correct strategy to create a dent in your universe. Call us today. We look forward to speaking with you, and get gamified with LearnTech.
There you go. I was speaking on mute for a long time. So, guys, thank you so much for sticking around Saturday morning. There are fantastic sessions that are lined up for you in the coming week, starting with the one on Monday morning, which is on how to facilitate virtual sessions. Done by Rupinder Kaur. She is a very senior leader with Ernst and Young, a senior learning strategist with the firm, and she's going to talk about from her experience of having facilitated global meetings. How does one really facilitate virtual meetings more effectively? And she's of the view that the world is moving virtual, and we as trainers will need to take our facilitation skills to the online world in online classrooms. So when I spoke to her about the subject that she wants to speak about, she was so passionate about all trainers really picking up the virtual facilitation skills. How do we create engagement in a webinar or in a virtual meeting? So she's going to be sharing her bag of tricks on how she does that. Fantastic session, guys. More great sessions lined up for you in the coming week. Have a look at the schedule. If you haven't joined the Facebook and the LinkedIn group, please feel free to join us there. There's going to be massive conversation after the summit gets over. And feel free to join all the coaching sessions that are going to get started after the summit gets over. So have a good time, guys, and we'll see you soon. And feel free to let me know if I can assist you with something or with any of the speakers. I'll be happy to extend that. So till then, guys, keep enjoying the Learning Design Summit, and we'll catch you soon. Bye bye.